It's 8:05 and you're in the right place at the right time. I'm Odette Campbell. Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Headlines. This evening I'm pleased to present a multi-dimensional program. On Beyond the Headlines we do unique things in unique ways, in different ways. And this evening I'm pleased to present our panel. We have a diverse panel this evening. The interesting thing is that we have two males, one man, a student. They're in studio with us. Joining us virtually this evening, we have three women. In studio, we have a very special gentleman to my immediate left. I'll come back to him because he's so special. But to his left, you have someone who I'm certain you recognize, Mr. Glenn Alexander. He told me to make sure that I didn't call him by another surname. So Mr. Glenn Alexander, did I get it correct?
Oh, yes, you did.
Great. So I'm certain many of you know Mr. Alexander. We featured him in the news, not about him, about things he's doing for the upliftment of society. And we had a special edition of Beyond the Headlines not too long ago when we featured one of his students, and that's why I come back to him, the Honorable Mr. Tyler, it's not Perry, but Smith. I'm certain he has Tyler Perry potential. So Tyler Smith is in studios. Tyler, how are you?
I'm very nice.
You're very nice in Jesus Christ. That's my boy. So Tyler is with us. You recall that Tyler is that footballer who is just so skilled, and we'll get into that a little later on. Let's introduce our panelists who are virtual with us this evening. And we have from North Carolina, we have Julie, who is with us from North Carolina. Can we see Julie on screen? Yes. Welcome, Julie. North Carolina is in the house. All right, and we have, that's Julie Lutz. We have Rachel Fisher. She's from Florida. Rachel.
Hi there. Happy to be here.
Great. We have Mrs. Judy Marshall. By now, she's not a stranger to Grenada. She has Grenadian roots, and she has been on the program with us a couple times before. Mrs. Marshall, it is wonderful to have you with us this evening.
And I'm so pleased to be joining you again. I look forward to your programs, and I'm glad to be one of the panelists tonight.
Great. And also to let you know, you would see Rachel. She's wearing, and Julie, they're wearing special shirts. They're saying hello. Yes, hello, Plato. Ah, good. Nice ambassadors there. Hello, Plato. So let me just explain. Julie and Rachel, they are application developers. We say WhatsApp, so let me make that short. They're app developers. Hello, Plato is an app, is an educational tool that they will be introducing us to this evening. And so we're very happy to have two women app developers. We're talking about tech, and we think all the men like Tyler and Mr. Alexander are the ones behind them. And no, we have two powerful women there. And so we will get going. What we'll do, let me just explain. We have a surprise this evening, and the surprise, you know, they say you save the best for last. So yes, we have a surprise this evening. Someone will be joining us in the last segment of the program to do something very special. So we would wait until Santa Claus gets into the studio to do that. That's in the last part of the program, so you can't afford to fall asleep or to leave us early in the program. So in the first segment, we will talk about education, COVID, technology, and all that's happening there. And then we will go to Hello Plato in the second segment of the program. And as I said, in the final segment, we have a surprise. Santa Claus decided he does not know what will happen in December, so he's going to come early. So let's go. I'm starting with Tyler, our very good friend. Tyler, so schools are supposed to open next week, but we hear the authorities saying that it may not open next week. What do you think about that?
I don't really like it. Mm-hmm. You know, I love school very much. I have a lot of friends I know from a primary school, and they love to help me.
So there we have it. Tyler is saying he doesn't like that very much, and we think that young people do not have a voice, but they have a voice, and Tyler is one of the students with a very powerful voice. The story of Tyler has been so tremendous because central to the story is the fact that his friends play such a role in his life that now Tyler is longing for the schools to reopen. But we understand why it has to be pushed back. There'll be virtual lessons from next week. Please the Lord. Mr. Alexander, I'm certain after having a break, you were looking forward to be back in the classroom with your students, weren't you?
Oh, yes. Especially the new ones, of course. JW Fletcher, we always look forward and anticipate when we have new members joining the family. However, they will have to maybe wait a little longer before they grace us and get into the uniform. But nevertheless, I think we are all ready for them.
Okay, great. Let's go to our virtual panelists, Julie and Rachel and Ms. Marshall. So, Julie, let's start with you. And how has COVID impacted life in your general area?
It has, been hard like it has for everybody, I'm sure. But educationally speaking, it really showed that the inequalities in learning that children have. A lot of children didn't have devices. A lot of children didn't have internet connections. The schools weren't ready to go remote, obviously. So all of that has been difficult. And for parents, both parents in the household work. So they've had to try to figure out, can I miss work or do I have to quit work? So, and I'm sure it's like that in a lot of places. So those have been some of the larger impacts.
But Julie, I'm sitting here because we in the Caribbean islands, sometimes we refer to as third world people, and we think that the big mighty America has it going on. So we're shocked to hear you say that, you have internet connectivity issues.
Not only do we have internet connectivity issues, I have no cell phone signal here where I'm sitting in my house if the power goes out. Because I'm using Wi-Fi to get internet. So we have cell phone connectivity issues as well as internet connectivity issues. So yes, the mighty America does not have it everywhere.
So I'm coming back in studio to Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, any common themes? She mentioned internet connectivity issues and also some parents having to decide, can I go to work or do I have to stay with my kids?
Oh yes, and it is, well, in recent times we realize the internet given some problems, but I think generally across the board I'm just issuing an invitation for them to come down to Grenada, because based on what she's saying, I think we possibly might be experiencing it. The internet service much better.
All right, so Julie, there you have an open invitation from Mr. Alexander to visit us in Grenada, because he thinks probably, we have a phrase we use here, we are better off than you. Rachel, so you're in Florida, and what's your story there?
I would say that it's similar to what Julie was saying. So in the U.S., if a family doesn't have access to the internet, it's one of two things. They either can't afford it or the infrastructure isn't there. So this past year, a lot of funds were provided to cover internet for families that didn't have it if they couldn't afford it. But that doesn't fix the problem for students that don't have access to it, because it's just not there. The cellular tower or the wires that need to reach people aren't there. And, a lot of the United States is pretty rural. People don't think of that because we focus on the cities, but a lot of it is rural. Florida has some pretty significant, and it's been a challenge. Maintaining students' connectivity and maintaining school remotely, especially having to do it all overnight, as Julie said. Schools in the United States and workplaces in the United States were not very remote prior to COVID. We had a pretty small number compared to some other places like Europe, where there were a lot of people that work from home part of the time. That just wasn't a thing here. So now it is, and we're figuring it out.
We'll figure it out as we go along, because even in the studio this evening, we're trying to figure out some issues with the fallback system. So technology, as good as it is, sometimes it presents some challenges. I think Mr. Alexander is squinching because he can't hear too much, but we'll get that sorted out. Mrs. Marshall, we know we had that we wouldn't call it infamous, that very famous evening when you were beyond the headlines and the grandbabies were coming over, Grandma, I suppose they felt grammar was. What's it like for you? You're an educator. Do you have a new semester yet?
No, we haven't started yet. Teachers go back on the 9th, and students are supposed to show up on the 13th. However, we're having a town hall tomorrow with the UFT since there's a mandate that all teachers get vaccinated, and there's some people that are still resisting that. So we're still trying to figure out how we're going to handle space, how we're going to handle just going back after 18 months. I actually have some nerves. I feel like if I'm a brand new teacher, because I have not stepped into my school building for 18 months. So I don't even know what to expect when I go back on the 9th, let alone on the 13th when our students show up.
So, Ms. Marshall, you have not seen the classroom for 18 months?
No, I have not. We were asked to shut schools down on, I think it was March 13 of 2020. And I've been teaching remotely since then. Lucky for me, I have always incorporated the technology in my instruction. So the shift was not as dramatic for me as it was for most of my colleagues.
And so we realize that you play an active role in your grandbabies' lives. How has that been for you, multitasking as teacher and, let's say, parent?
It was pretty tough. My grandchildren were 6 and 7 last year. So to navigate the system, it was very, very hard for them. I suffered a heart attack in October and was asked to stay home, stay away from active duty at work. So that helped a bit in me kind of assisting the grandchildren with navigating from the platform on Meet into an activity that was designed for them by the teacher. So I was able to help in that way. However, socially, they suffered. They don't like it at all. And my 2 grandchildren are actually looking forward to September 13 when they can go back up and interact with other students.
And I'm coming back, Mr. Alexander. She made a very important point. Socially, the children suffered.
Oh, yes. Sorry, that is so true, but the circumstances at this time, one, we will have to follow the protocol and so forth, while we would want to do that, but of course, that is what it has become.
Okay. Tyler, I'm going to try to juggle your memory, right? Because in September last year, he would have entered Form 1. So we were on lockdown last year, the period just before you were getting ready to go to secondary school. So you were exiting primary school and getting ready to go into secondary school when all this happened. Do you remember what it was like for you, what was going through your mind, whether you had uncertainty as to whether you'll make it into Form 1? During the lockdown last year, you could remember what you were thinking? Or tell us about that.
I thought I wouldn't have passed. It was so hard for me in school. I used to reach late, majority every day. I used to have to go away to come back. It used to be very hard. You had a time I had to stay a week home before I come to school. I missed it a lot, but I catch up.
That's a champion. That's a champion. But he caught up, right? And when you got to JW Fletcher on that first day when they reopened the school, Ms. Alexander, that was January, was it?
Well, I know they had orientation in the church.
Right.
That's a cathedral.
Okay.
And I'm trying to, I'm kind of getting old to jog my memory.
Welcome to the club.
as to what it was, but I know we had this blended approach for them to attend school. So the Form 1s, well, we had it divvied up nicely, and they had their time, but of course they had to do the social distancing, and they were placed in the hall, so they had the 6 feet, and then it was brought down to 3 feet, and so. But it was still difficult, for them, because they are accustomed with the whole socialization issue and so forth.
So Tyler, when you finally got into the orientation and you got to meet your new friends, how was that progression?
I didn't really know all the kids. I didn't know about 5 of them.
Okay. All right. So, Julie, let's come back to you in North Carolina. And we're looking at the new semester. And what are you picking up from parents, from friends, people who are getting ready for this new semester in North Carolina?
It's kind of a mess right now because a lot of the schools are making decisions about mask mandates, whether or not they're going to have them. So there's a lot of controversy about that. And then several of the schools that have already started in the area that were planning to not have any remote learning have, within the first 2 weeks, had to go to remote learning because of the increase in COVID cases and quarantine. So it's been kind of a mess for parents, students, administrators, teachers, everybody. So I really feel for them, and I don't know, what the answers are, because of course the kids want to be in school, they need to be in school, but how do you do that safely? And that's been the problem here.
So, Mr. Alexander, does that resonate with educators and parents in Grenada? Because sometimes in our part of the world, we think it's unique to us and the government is just trying to punish us and make life hard for us. But does that story resonate with you and with educators here?
Oh, yes. It's a similar thing that exists. And, of course, we try to, amidst everything, do what it is to ensure that, education is passed on.
All right. And so, Rachel, in Florida, lay the framework for us. What's happening there?
It's very similar, again, to what Julie said. And to some degree, that's because we're both in the southeastern part of the United States. So there are some cultural similarities in our region. The U.S. is so big that the different regions are almost like different countries in the way that they think and what's important to them. So we have the same kind of controversy here. Our governor made it illegal for school districts to create a mask mandate, but school districts are fighting back and doing that anyway, and they sued the governor. So it's a mess politically. And then on top of that, like Julie saw in her area, we started school, so school has started here, and immediately had, hundreds to thousands of cases of COVID within the first week of school in the bigger school districts here in Florida, like Palm Beach County and where I live. And they are having to go to more remote learning. They're having to go to mask mandates. So it seems like what's going to happen is people are going to go back to wearing masks because they don't want to have to go fully remote if they can help it. And more people are getting vaccinated. So that is one side effect that's positive right now of this terrible resurge that we're seeing with the Delta variant, is that Americans that previously were reticent to get the vaccine now are starting to get it more, and that will hopefully increase our ability to go back to normal soon.
Hopefully we can go back to normal school soon, and we like to ring those common bells. Mr. Alexander, I understand last week that we saw an uptick in vaccinations here as a result of our spike, we think, as well as another option being presented through the Pfizer vaccine.
Oh, yes, and once there are options, I think possibly people are feeling a little more comfortable in terms of getting the vaccine.
Mrs. Marshall, what's it like in New York? Do you have any mandates as far as vaccination is concerned? We heard Dr. Fauci on CNN State of the Union saying that, if it's recommended that children be vaccinated so that you can reopen. So what's it like in New York?
It's pretty much mandated, especially for educators and other government workers, to be vaccinated. there's so much confusion about, the anti-vaccine people and the pro-vaccine, that you're hearing a lot of information that are conflicting. So it causes a lot of confusion. However, we as educators, we don't know what will happen to us if we don't get vaccinated. Initially, they had said that if you are not fully vaccinated, you have to succumb to a test each week on your own time. But then the mayor announced that it is mandatory for us to get vaccinated. So we're waiting on tomorrow's meeting with the president of the United Federation of Teachers, Mr. Michael Mulgrew, to see what the union is going to have to say about that, or do teachers have to quit their jobs if they don't want to be vaccinated? And I think a lot of the resistance comes from people not being, not feeling comfortable being told what to do. I think the resistance is mostly stemming from that resentment that somebody is telling a grown person what to do with their own body.
Ms. Alexander, I'm hearing some yes and some amens. Tell us, what is your position or thought on that?
No. I'm just saying yes, because while you were seeing, and I'm careful with my wording now, the issue of mandatory, I still maintain that it should be a choice. People have, I would leave it to that.
Yeah,
it should be a choice.
Don't go and get in no trouble there. Don't get in any trouble at all. We want to see you keep your job.
Oh, yes.
So, Tyler, there has been a lot of talk about the blended learning approach, where if you're not in the classroom, you could use your tablet. And you have your tablet, you could hold up your tablet, everybody, see? You could hold up your tablet a little. Right. So, you have used the tablet at any period when you were not in school, like the teacher is in the classroom and you're using the tablet to learn? Tell us about that. How was that? Was it enjoyable? Was it fun? Was it boring?
Yeah, it was good.
It was cool? So you heard clearly what the teacher was saying? So which sites you went on? What was the name of the site? What was the name of the platform?
Edmodo.
Edmodo. That's what your teacher used, right?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander, was that the Ministry of Education prescribed site? I don't find that sounds like it.
Well, you had the... anyways, we had used Edmodo at one time. Remember, he had the M-Star. Yes, but at our school, we did quite a bit with Zoom because of what it allowed us to do. In my view, I used quite a lot of Zoom because I had the opportunity to interface with the students to get feedback from them. And of course, when you want them to do additional work, they use the Edmodo platform. And of course, if you know the Edmodo platform, you get feedback from the students based on what you allow them to do. But basically, we have used these platforms. And I know Tyler and his brother, they were having fun. Of course, at one time they had to share, but at the same time, I look at Tyler and his brother, and I just admire how they synchronize with each other to ensure that learning takes place when it was virtual.
Great. And as we said at the start of the program, we have something unique happening. Santa Claus hopefully is making his way down the chimney. We'll have a special presentation by Santa Claus because he's worried about what might happen in December. What we'll do at this time, we'll take a commercial break. When we come back, we have Hello Plato. We have the two app developers, Julie Luce and Rachel, who are with us virtually. So they will introduce us to that. We'll have some interaction with Mrs. Marshall. And of course, we have Tyler in studio. For those of you who have not heard Tyler's story before, when we come back, we will introduce you to the Tyler that you do not yet know. He's becoming somewhat of a celebrity in Grenada. And of course, we're pleased to have Mr. Alexander, his teacher, here with us this evening. And just to let you know that Tyler's mom is in studio but not on set. So we also have a chaperone who we are eternally grateful for, because it takes a village to raise a child, and in the world, we all need each other. So let's take a commercial break. The surprise is on its way. Do stay with us.
Introducing Color by Sissons. 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 Color by Sissons.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
Each of us has a role in Grenada's successful recovery. We have the will to overcome. We are strong. Together, we are Grenada.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Fallage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
What does it take to be an amazing woman? Lots of me time. Amazing women are classy, fancy, and a little sassy. It's the drink for me. Cheers! Sometimes you've got to show them who's boss. Alpha male? Nah, alpha females are more amazing. Cheers to securing the bag. We make time for ourselves, for work, friends, and we certainly make time for passion. We're simply amazing. Amazing cream liqueur for the amazing woman in you.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, and this evening in studio with me we have Mr. Tyler Smith. He's a student at J.W. Fletcher, and we have accompanying him this evening his teacher, Mr. Glenn Alexander. Mr. Alexander has been doing wonders for a lot of young people. He's been doing it quietly, and it's only tonight I was reminded that it was 10 years ago that he played a marvelous role in a marvelous young man's life, and we could put the marvelous in front of the young man tonight because he came from zero and he's now become a hero. He possesses a Bachelor of Science in, it's not nutrition, I don't remember, but it is one of those areas, and it is thanks to Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, you know, like the one of the 10 lepers who came back to say thanks, the person who was bombarding and knocking down your doors asking you to help that young man has asked me to say publicly to you, thank you so much for 10 years ago when you really intervened in that young man's life and has made him a hero.
Oh, yes, and that is my reward as a teacher, is to see students being successful.
Yeah, and I think it is dietetics and nutrition is what that young man has a Bachelor of Science in. He was the head boy at the school after coming from another institution and was practically deemed to be a failure.
Yes, and we need him to come to the institution to speak to the students. I know at one time, I'm trying to remember, we had him doing something at the school, and that is what, as an institution, as we head into our 10th year, and celebrating, these are the things that J.W. Fletcher would want to emulate, and congratulations to Akim and what he has done, what he has made of himself today.
Well, I wasn't calling name in the parang, but the cat was in the bag, so you call names, right? And we mentioned that story so that we don't dismiss people like Mr. Alexander because they don't get a political assignment, you know, and carry these great accolades, but they do make differences. And it is at this juncture we want to show you what Mr. Alexander has been doing in Tyler Smith's life. So for those of you who've never seen the story before, we will share that with you again this evening. We'll share that with you now. For those of you who've seen it before, let's be patient so people understand why we have Tyler in studio with us. So it's Tyler Smith's story.
Brilliant is one word used to describe 13-year-old Tyler Smith, a Form 1 student of the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School. If you look closely, you would see that Tyler is missing one limb. Today, we had a sit down and a chat with Tyler, because this does not stop him from his enthusiasm and his appreciation for the game of football. Tyler is the first of 3 children who were more than happy to share parts of his life story and how he is treated among his friends.
I born with no bone in one leg, so they had to cut it out when I was a little baby. It was very good. Everybody was nice to me. I help each other and they help me too.
This young lad has a passion for the game of football and would someday love to play on his school's team and later in life as a professional.
Goalkeeping is very fun. I like to save the ball. And normally I like to kick it too. And I love playing it. I want to be like Neymar. I feel very, very good. I want to play very bad. I aspire to be on the school team.
Tyler started wearing a prosthetic leg from the age of 5. However, now he says it's not the most comfortable alternative. He'd rather move around as is.
A prosthetic leg is very, very bad. It's very hard to walk in. Sometimes it's hot. Sometimes I don't take it out. Sometimes I get corn on my foot. So I walk with a clutch. My clutch is hard to walk into. You don't hurt my arm.
Tyler's teacher and now his coach, Glenn Alexander, spoke passionately about how he discovered this young man's ability.
Able to see Tyler coming from physical education class, and I was amazed as to how he moved around. And speaking to him, I had a chat with him and asked him his favorite sport. And we clicked because he said football. And I wanted to challenge and see how he will move around with the football. And immediately I sent him on the lawn. And the way he kicked, I was amazed.
Alexander is hopeful that they can move forward as an institution to help Tyler. He's also advocating for the right prosthetic leg for him and hopes that with the school putting forward, along with other assistance, this can come to fruition. From outside the J.W. Fletcher Catholic Secondary School, I have been speaking there with fully energized Tyler Smith, wouldn't you say? I have been your reporter, Christina John, for GB.
Regardless of how many times I see that news feature, it just makes me smile. If I'm having a bad day, I think about Tyler. And what's your friend at Monjaloo again? All right, we'll remember just now. But Mr. Alexander just had these very special students. And this is Tyler's clutch. And Tyler, he came in with it this evening, and I'm there trying to figure out if I have to walk around with these two things. Here, he said it hurts under the arm, and although it has a, but Tyler, just know that we celebrate you. You're a beacon to a lot of us who have both of our limbs, and it has made us pause. And when we're complaining about things, say, but Tyler, don't complain. Yes, we just want to celebrate you tonight. So to our guests on the platform, Rachel and Julie, because Mrs. Marshall, I believe, would have seen that insert before. Julie, what's it like for a student with special needs in your neck of the woods?
I actually don't know. I will turn that over to Rachel. I haven't been an educator.
Okay, Rachel? Rachel, don't forget to unmute your microphone.
I was muted. We do have a lot of laws that require support for students with special needs. So we are required to try to incorporate students with special needs into the regular everyday classroom so that they can have the same normal everyday school experience as their able-bodied peers. And that's and in the least restrictive way possible is what the law says. So really what that means for teachers is that we, along with parents and the school administrators, have to, and Ms. Marshall can speak to this more recently than I can. It's been a little while since I've been in the classroom, but we have to try to make the experience for all students the same, high quality, and together with socialization. There really has been a very important shift in the U.S. towards understanding of people with disabilities, I believe, since we have incorporated those laws into schools. Because when I was a child, students with special needs were often educated separately. So they'd be taken to a different classroom or maybe even be in a different school. And as an able-bodied student, you didn't see the students with disabilities. You didn't have lunch with them. You didn't, create friendships with them. And you didn't understand that people with disabilities were just people because you didn't get to interact with them. But now kids grow up together and they openly share their challenges and struggles, whether they're able-bodied or not. We also understand that there are lots of special needs now. So there are mental health needs and emotional needs as well as physical needs. So I think that in terms of the law and our intentions, we do well. Whether we actually provide that kind of equality for students in every classroom is a little bit of a different question.
All right. Mrs. Marshall, you want to bounce in from there?
Actually, Rachel put it very nicely and succinctly as to what happens in the classroom now. Teachers are very much encouraged to take classes that would help us to be better able to attend to the needs of students with special needs. We have a model called ICT classrooms where students with special needs would integrate with their average learners so that they can incorporate all the things that the other child would experience. They would have the same experiences. Schools receive a very good, beautiful budget centered around the needs of children that may need some special attention. So they are embraced in every arena in schools here in North America. I think that it is to our advantage to understand that we all have some kind of differences in us, whether it's a physical, emotional, or mental difference. So for us to kind of isolate any kind of disability, whether it's a learning disability. We just have to look at it as if we are just differently abled, because we do experience life not in a vacuum, but together. So I am so in awe of Tyler. I looked at that story again and again, and it is just amazing how very adept he is and passionate about what he wants to do, and he does it so well. So that is a testament to us that every child deserves the best environment for learning.
And Mr. Alexander, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, sometimes we consider ourselves little Grenada, but you have made some strides. We have made some strides, because Rachel said it very well. I remember if there was somebody who was a disabled student, we didn't eat with them. Oh, yes. We didn't see them. They were in a different school somewhere, not even in the same school. Right. So it couldn't have been like in a different classroom, but I just feel so proud. I'm certain you do the same.
Oh, yes. And I'm hoping that Tyler's story is going to open or create the awareness, the greater awareness, so that more students, more children can get the opportunity to be accepted within the regular schooling, and of course to give them the opportunity that we at JW Fletcher will try to provide for Tyler with the other help that have been coming along. And as we on this, I want to sort of mention what has happened subsequent to the story, in that there is an organization, a group of returning nationals who are based, who are local based, I think mainly from the Grenville area. However, you have others who are in the UK, and we had an initial meeting with them, and more or less seeking Tyler's interest. And of course, one of the things I like about that meeting with them is that they have decided to partner with other stakeholders, so that it is not something that we try to, or they try to do by themselves, but of course to be scientific as it relates to whatever assistance is given to Tyler. And I want to commend the organization, and we continue. I'm saying we know, because thanks to the counselor, the principal, and other members of the school who have jumped on board to really work with Tyler and ensure that provision is being made for him to fulfill his dream.
Great, and I'm certain we'll hear a little bit more of that in the third segment of the program, but we did promise that we have a multidimensional program this evening. We have a great development still to come. We did say we'll talk a little bit about COVID, which we have, and education and technology. And let's switch now to technology. We have two application developers. I'd like to call them two experts. We have Julie Lutz out of North Carolina, as we mentioned earlier, and we also have Rachel Fisher. So we also have Rachel Fisher with us. Let me just check with our producer to ensure that we have what we need to do the Hello Plato introduction. Producer, you could whisper in my ear? Yes, we do. So let's move on to technology. As our tagline says, COVID, education, and technology. So let's start with Rachel. Rachel, when we get a wider shot of you, we'll see Hello Plato. Tell us about that.
Yes. So Julie and I have been creating online education tools for getting close to 20 years. It's getting to be a long time together. And we created Hello Plato, ironically, before COVID, because we always knew that online educational tools were not accessible to all students, whether they were young students or adult students. So we created Hello Plato, which is you're seeing now on the screen. This is the teacher side. So it's a teacher tool, free to teachers, that allows them to build lessons and quizzes, little activities for students in this simple form builder that you're seeing here, where they can add text, They can add questions like true, false, or multiple choice. They can add images or videos. And then the cool thing about it is that the student actually accesses that lesson through WhatsApp. So we have a video that will show that as well. And we created a cute little lesson about a fun invertebrate that lives in the waters there off of Grenada called the lettuce sea slug. So we have a sample lesson that a teacher who teaches maybe 10 or 11-year-olds for science or invertebrates, that's an example of a lesson that a student might complete inside of WhatsApp. The reason we built this is because we wanted to make online educational tools more accessible so that it's easy for students, easy for teachers. And I was a teacher. This is not something that's intended to replace a teacher. It couldn't even come close. Nothing can come close to replacing a teacher. But it's a tool that empowers teachers to reach all of their students with an online lesson. And all of that data comes back to the teacher. So the teacher can see, which students completed which lessons and what score they got on the lessons that they completed, how long it took them. So they get a lot of great learning data back about their students.
You've been doing this for 20 years now, and so what kind of coincidence is this that COVID has come and has taken everybody online virtually?
Yeah, we always knew that online learning was an opportunity to democratize access to learning. It's something that people in online learning have been trying to do for a long time, like taking professors from Harvard and making their classes free. Now, it turns out that without specific motivation and support and help, as we now see when we send millions of children home and make them learn on their own, that it's very difficult for someone to do that all by themselves. We get low completion rates when adults are trying to take these kinds of things by themselves. So we always knew that online learning had the power to give access to education to a greater number of people that didn't have access to it. But we also know that it's just one piece of the teaching puzzle, and that students need a teacher to guide them. They need peers to learn from. So it's one piece of the overall puzzle. But when COVID happened, we saw that we need to do better with that piece, because if people need to lean on internet-based connectivity, internet-based technology, it needs to be there for them. And when COVID struck, we realized, hey, we have all this technology, but it's only accessible to people with the money and, who are in cities that have infrastructure. And everyone else around the world, 2/3 of all kids in the world, so there's 1.3 billion kids who don't have access to Wi-Fi at home. Well, that turned out to be a really big problem when we needed everyone to have access to Wi-Fi. So, I think that technology is supposed to make life better, more affordably. That's what I believe. That's what I know Julie believes. That's what Ms. Marshall believes. She's nodding. That's what technology should do. And so when you're building technology tools, it's great if you can make cool stuff that, wealthy people can use to have fun. And those products are great and they make money. But we really need technology that solves problems for people. So that's why we created Hello Plato. And then COVID happened and the problem became obvious to everybody.
Right. So Tyler is sitting in the studio, and Tyler has his tablet, and I'm looking at him, and he's there and he's plugging away. So Tyler, having to use your tablet, has it made education fun? Tell us about that experience. Is it a nice experience?
No. When we had COVID, we used to have to stay home and do Zoom classes. Sometimes I used to miss it a lot. But we used to have to go to school. I used to get a lot of, stuffs and.
So, would you miss some of the classes on the Zoom platform?
Yes.
Why?
Because the Wi-Fi used to give a lot of trouble.
Mr. Alexander, the Wi-Fi used to give a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Steady internet connectivity.
Yes, and as we know, with the increased usage of the internet, even while at the school, we have issues in terms of connectivity, and it sort of disrupts certain things. But if you're able to maybe work offline, and so because I know Thailand, they have been being online and the use of videos, and so really complimented what teaching was all about for them.
All right, let me go back to Julie. Julie, tell us a little bit about your role in Hello Plato, and when you were doing it, you were thinking of some child somewhere. Tell us about your role in all of this.
Well, my role is, I was thinking about me as a child, because I grew up in an area where that I didn't have a lot of access to learning materials or books or anything. But then also I thought about my own children, because they didn't have internet. I mean, that was starting at the time, but they didn't have internet. They didn't have access to a lot of stuff. So that's one of the big things that made me think about the other kids who also don't have that, and trying to figure out a way to provide something that works, but at the same time knowing that I can't fix it for everybody. I mean,
And so knowing that you can't fix it for everybody, but when you look at where we are at in the world, and now we're going online, yourself and Rachel, you're thinking, it was a good thing we did that, didn't you?
Well, I think that, so we started creating Hello Plato in 2019 before COVID, and had been talking about it and thinking about it for a while. But the thing that was crazy about COVID happening is, before COVID, we knew we were going to have to explain to people that there are large numbers of people who don't have connectivity. Everyone knows this, kind of, but it wasn't right in their face. So a good example is, there was a picture that went viral in the United States of a couple of little girls, elementary school age, with Chromebooks sitting in the parking lot of a Taco Bell, using the Taco Bell Wi-Fi to complete their homework. It was in like May of last year, in the middle of the worst of COVID. And it went viral because people thought, oh, this is horrible. These children can't get access to school. What are we going to do about this? But the thing that was crazy to us, to Julie and I, is that we knew that those two little girls had been doing that before COVID to do their homework, because they didn't have Wi-Fi at home. And when COVID ends and they're able to go back to school, which is a wonderful thing, they still have to do their homework in the parking lot at Taco Bell. There are kids all across the United States, somewhere between 15 and 17 million. So that's about 1/3 of our school-aged kids don't have Wi-Fi at home. So school districts have done things for the past 5-6 years, like set up a school bus with Wi-Fi in a parking lot somewhere. And then people will drive their kids, if they can, near the bus, so they can use the Wi-Fi on that bus to do their homework at night. So the thing to us is, before COVID, we would have had to explain why Hello Plato is necessary. And now we don't. Now we can say to people, like, you realize that it's not just a handful of kids that don't have access. It's a large number of kids that don't have access, that need something that they can do in a small 15-minute window with their cell phone, on a mobile cell phone connection, not Wi-Fi, so mobile data only. And that will give the teacher data so the teacher has some idea of how a child is progressing. And as Julie said, it doesn't solve all of the problems, but it solves a lot and helps teachers to get a snapshot of how students are doing. So now you're seeing a video of the student side. So the teacher builds the lesson with the web application, but the student takes it inside of WhatsApp. So they can open up a video and you can see this is like the video, if you turn to your phone on its side, you can watch the video in full screen. And then when they're done with the video, they can move on and answer the question. So they answer a multiple choice question. And the whole thing is guided by our friendly AI chatbot, Plato. And so Plato tells the student how they did. You got it incorrect, but it gives encouragement, keep practicing, and, goes on to ask the next question. So all of this experience for students will work even if they're in a very low bandwidth environment. We're doing this with students in rural India right now, and it's working for them. So we know that it does work. And then the student gets real-time feedback. It's a safe environment for them to make a mistake. It's okay. It's just practice. And then the teacher gets all of that information so they can know if they're reaching students, if students understand the lessons that they're being taught. So it's a really lightweight, easy way to connect with kids quickly and get some information to them and back from them.
Excellent. Tyler, I see you paying close attention. Is there anything about it that grabbed your attention? You're just looking at it for the first time and I was intrigued, right? Mr. Alexander, do you think that's an application probably that students in Grenada could benefit from?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm not certain whether or not there's an audio component to it because we know the issue of reading. Yeah, but the video is there, the question is there, and I think she mentioned that it is interactive. So whether you're correct or not, you had the opportunity to learn from the process, and it's unique in itself. Having gone through that little video, it says quite a lot. My only thing is that I have a biasness to mathematics, and I'm not certain whether or not it is it has that kind of component to it, but when it comes to the science, they must be complimented for same.
Right, so you're getting compliments from an educator, Julie and Rachel. And
so let me jump in just slightly to assure Mr. Alexander that this platform can be used in any subject area. The teachers build the assessment and they roll it out to the students. There are video components that you could include on the platform to walk the children through it. They get immediate feedback. And also in the example that Rachel showed, not only did they get feedback, but they got some affirmation as to why the answer was correct, which deepens the understanding. So I'm truly always looking for tools that can engage my student. I don't look for something that's fun. I look for engagement, but something that creates a learning that is conceptual. And Hello Plato does that marvelously.
Hello, Plato. Thank you so much for the affirmation. And he just has his math bias. And one of these good days, I think I need to link you guys with him. He did something very marvelous for the summer. What did you call it? Math on the go?
Math on the move.
Math on the move. Yes. How did that work?
Oh, it was exciting. If you look at my page or you look at my Facebook status, the students, they had fun. They got the opportunity to go around Grenada, go around the island. One that stood out to me is when we went to the beach and we had the opportunity to make sandcastles and to write formulas in the sand and to justify why this and so. And being summer, it was exciting, and I am happy with that. That made my holidays.
Well, there we go. We have a set of people who I'm thinking here, I need to get out of media and get into education. This is something a lot. Sandcastles on the beach, we're doing formulas in the sand. 2x plus y?
That time we were doing shapes, so you have cones and so.
Mr. Alexander, you're running away from 2x plus y. Mr. Prasad and several other teachers tried to explain to me 2x plus y, and I still don't know what's the result of. Julie, you can help me here, 2x plus y? What's the result?
I have a huge fear of math, but I will totally come do math on the beach.
Me too. So Julie, as we wrap up this session on Hello Plato, Mr. Alexander touched on the issue of user-friendliness. What is your word to people who are wondering how user-friendly this is, Hello Plato is?
Well, we think it's user-friendly, but that is something we're trying to learn. So we need as many people to use it as possible so we can learn more about what is working, what people like, what they don't like, how we can make it better, and the things that we absolutely can't change for whatever reason is that we could at least make them easier and more delightful for people. So we would love to have teachers and students use this so that we can learn much more about the user friendliness of it.
Great. We're getting ready to go into the final segment of the program. We just like our viewers and listeners to know, in case you want to contribute to the discussion, the number you can call is 440-1252. 440-1252. And let me segue a little bit. We know that there are a lot of moving parts in Grenada because of the continuous increase in COVID-19. Several businesses have been impacted. I have just been asked to bring an update. Earlier today, we had an advisory from ACB. That's the bank that replaced RBTT, and now I have an update, and I've been asked please to facilitate this announcement. ACB Grenada Bank Grandans branch will be opened for business on August 31 as per regular banking hours. The True Blue branch will remain closed until further notice. We thank you for your patience, and please continue to stay safe. We reported in the news earlier this evening that both branches of ACB Caribbean Grandans, they had been closed, and now the bank has provided an update that the Grand Anse branch will be opened for business tomorrow, Tuesday, that's August the 31st, as per the regular banking hours. The True Blue branch will remain closed until further notice, and the company wishes to thank you sincerely for your patience and is urging that you continue to stay safe. A short while ago, I also got a cue that the Grenada Teachers Union has issued a statement, its policy on vaccination, and hopefully I can get to share a little bit of that with you before the close of the program. But as we mentioned, we have a multidimensional, multicultural engagement here this evening, and Tyler Smith is the center of our attention this evening. He's been a motivator, motivating force. We had a special edition of Beyond the Headlines, I believe the last week in July, and Mr. Alexander mentioned that there's been some progress. You're trying to source a prosthetic leg for him and that kind of thing.
Yes, as I mentioned, the Returning Nationals, it's an organization, and they are trying to work with different stakeholders to ensure that we get the best solution for Tyler's problem. We know that Tyler is very much into sports. We know he spoke of the leg being uncomfortable, and of course where Tyler lives, we know that also is an issue where we know where Tyler lives. We know that is also an issue for him. So whatever we can do to really help Tyler, we will welcome this and will partner with any stakeholders who's willing to really reach out and help Tyler to achieve his goal.
Right. So, Tyler, I'm certain you're glad for the help that you'll be getting from Mr. Alexander's partners who have decided after Beyond the Headlines that they'll team up to help you? Yes. All right. I'm getting a signal that we may have a caller on the line, but while we process that call, I did promise you that Santa Claus was going to come riding down the chimney, and I think I see Santa enter in the studio, and that's Santa's cue. We have a very special presentation to make, and I'm going to ask the producer to cue our participants on Zoom. Right. So, one of our participants on Zoom this evening saw the special edition that we did. And voila, this is a surprise, everybody. Tyler, Mr. Alexander, you wish to read this?
From Lorna and Chester Chase Memorial Scholarship Awards. Is that 600 US?
He can't believe his eyes.
600 US towards Tyler Smith for demonstrating the courage, determination, and spirit of resilience. Congratulations, Tyler.
So Mrs. Marshall is the person who is responsible, and Mr. Alexander wants to give a big round of applause. Everybody, whoop, whoop, whoop. Mrs. Marshall, it's all you're doing, so it's over to you.
Oh yes, I am quite thrilled to be able to do this. Tyler, my parents passed away recently, and because of their lifestyle, we grew up wanting to always give back and to look for any ways that we can encourage. And you are a role model to many. I'm a 5'10" tall woman, but I look up to you, young man. You are an inspiration, and I pray that, I'm kind of speechless now. I have a letter.
She's lost for words, and I also feel it on this end.
Yes.
Ms. Marshall, let me give you some
would
time.
You allow me
to
let
me just give you some time to compose yourself, because Tyler, you saw him swinging his hand, and Tyler said, wow, my hand is sweating. So Tyler has broken out into a cold sweat. Tyler, when you saw this, what went through your mind?
I was shocked.
He said, I was shocked. You didn't expect Santa Claus was going to come this early. And look the shaking of the head. So Tyler, you want to say thank you? You want to say anything?
Yes.
Tell me what you want to say. Say it to her or to the whole of Grenada.
I was very thankful for this
donation.
This donation towards me. I really like it.
Tyler, I am so pleased that you are happy. This was the intent, to bring a smile to you and to show you that in some small way, we are, we made a connection with your story, and we wanted to do something small that, could show that we appreciate you for what you've done to the world, not just the Grenada. Your story has spread worldwide because of Beyond the Headlines. Miss Campbell, can I read the letter from the foundation?
Sure, please. Sure, go right ahead.
All right. It says, Dear Tyler Smith, it is with the greatest pleasure that I inform you that you have been selected as a recipient of the 2021 Lorna and Chester Chase Memorial Scholarship Award in the amount of $600 US. After viewing one of the outstanding episodes on Beyond the Headline, your remarkable story came to our attention, and we immediately decided that you are certainly a worthy recipient of the award established to honor the memory of our parents, Chester and Lorna Chase, who resided on Grenville Street, St. George, Grenada, and who passed away respectively on December 2nd, 2018 and December 19, 2020. That should have been 2019, I'm sorry. Your courage, determination, and spirit of resilience reflect the character traits that our parents exemplified. And so we believe that they would be proud to know that this small contribution would bring some joy to a young man who reminds us all that if life gives us lemons, we can indeed make lemonade. Tyler, your story will be shared in my school when we resume in September, with the hope that our pre-K to 8 students will gain a renewed desire to be overcomers. I'm still getting a little bit emotional.
and be willing to look at themselves not as victims of socioeconomic and other adverse circumstances, but as change makers who will embrace every opportunity and tackle the hurdles that are sometimes thrown our way and use them as ladders to success. You, Tyler, have shown us that it is possible to do that. Mrs. Chase, Mrs. Marshall, you want to continue?
Yes. On behalf of the foundation, I wish you God's richest blessings and pray for your continued success in all your future endeavors. With love and admiration, Mrs. Marshall, who is the Assistant Director of the Lorna and Chester Chase Memorial Scholarship.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Marshall. Mr. Alexander, Tyler. And let me just say that Tyler's mommy is sitting in the lobby. I know she would not want to appear on camera, but I just want to feel her presence in the studio. So I'm going to ask our assistant to just ask his mommy to come into the studio. She's been out in the lobby because she has a baby with her. Tyler's counselor is also in the lobby, and we want to welcome her into the studio as well, just so that we can feel this spirit of community. And on behalf of the management and staff of the Grenada Broadcasting Network, we want to say a very special thank you to the Lorna and Chester Chase Memorial Scholarship Foundation for having done this, because Mrs. Marshall was not a guest on the program, but she follows beyond the headlines, and she immediately sent, after that program was aired, can I please get that insert, that news story, the feature with Tyler, and we sent it, and then we heard that this was being done, and it really moves me. Miss Smith, you want to just come a little closer? Miss Smith, his mommy is here. Come a little closer by me. Just come a little closer. We know we didn't prepare you to appear on TV, but just peep a little so people can see who Tyler's mommy. Come into the camera frame. You need to come up a little more. Say hello.
Hello.
And what does this? How does this feel for you?
I'm so happy that he's getting help. I know he really needs it, and this would go a long way.
Thank you so much, Mommy, for agreeing to come in today. And we didn't tell you about this, but we're so happy that you came, and you see that Tyler is special in everybody's heart.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And this is not the last Tyler is going to hear of me.
Great. So Mrs. Marshall, you see his mommy, so you're able to connect. So we're going to get ready to wrap it up. I think we had a caller, but the caller must have gotten it. Okay, all right, the caller, we've lost that caller there. So as we get ready to wrap it up, yes, my heart is full. I don't often stutter and get lost for words, but I'm a little bit lost for words. Tyler, you're just so special. And, you know, I have this thing that since I was a young person, I used to sing and say, you know, if I can help somebody as I travel along life's road, then my living would not be in vain. I have an colleague who tells me that if I'm not doing politics and all the controversial stories, he's not watching. But I much prefer do this and see change and development rather than those things that people seem to gravitate toward. If I could help somebody as I travel along, then my living would not be in vain. Then my living would not be in vain. No, 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 no. Then my living would not be in vain.
Amen.
Mr. Alexander, what is your response to all of this?
I'm just overwhelmed, and I know Tyler and his family would put great use into this, and coming from the school also, we do appreciate the efforts being made to help Tyler, not only by this gesture tonight, but other persons who have been coming forward to assist Tyler. And what I would say to Tyler and his family, is just appreciation, to appreciate that what you were able to receive, there are others who are not being able to. So to God be the glory.
Great things he has done. And we have a call on the line. Caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I must say it is good to see. It's good to see what's happening to Tyler this evening, and it's good to see that we have people on the outside there that are still concerned about what's happening at home. And I must say, I feel very proud a piece of my fellow PBC, my PBC boy.
Very good. Thank you so much.
And then I would like to ask Miss Lorna, is the Mighty Sparrow your uncle?
Yes, the Mighty Sparrow is her uncle. We understand. Mrs. Marshall, somebody wants to confirm that the Mighty Sparrow is your uncle?
Yes, indeed, he is.
Yes,
I'm Grenadian, born and bred.
So, Mrs. Marshall, you have some St. John's connection?
Well, my mom was from Grand Roy, but my dad was from Grenville Street, and that's where we grew up.
Okay. All right. Do we have another call on the line? Okay, so that call has disappeared. Judy and Rachel, we know that we tried to make this multidimensional this evening. You want to give us some closing thoughts as we wrap it up this evening? Starting with you, Julie.
I just want to thank you so very much for having us on, for letting us talk about ourselves as well as Hello Plato, and the things that you didn't know about America that were not that great. And I just want to say, Tyler, that I know that you're going to overcome all obstacles, and that Miss Judy's going to be talking to you again. And she is wonderful, and thank you so much, Ms. Judy, and thank you so much, Ms. Campbell, for having us on.
Welcome. Rachel?
And I, obviously echo Julie's thanks, as well as her sentiment towards Tyler. What's amazing, Tyler, is the way that you express positivity. I'm going to have to work on my own, because I am not nearly so positive as you, and I have, nothing really to be negative about. So I definitely think that you're showing people that positivity is a choice, and that's an amazing thing. And the other thing we'd like to share is we do want people to try Hello Plato and tell us what they think of it. It is free, so teachers can go to our website, helloplato.com, and just create an account. All you need is an email address, and you can start creating lessons and sharing those with your students. There's information there about how to reach out to Julie and me, because if you need help, we're here. That's what we do. So thank you very much, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Somebody is saying here, all tears. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. You made it a reality. I'm just going to ask one person to come and just poke in the camera. That is Mr. Alexander's first child. Not biological, but that is the person who 10 years ago Mr. Alexander was pestered about, and now has his Bachelor's of Science in Dietetics and Nutrition. So we just have somebody peeping in again. Thank you so much. Some very proud moments. And folks, what we try to say through this platform is that yes, there's a humdrum and there's a challenge and there is the up and the down, but God continues to be faithful. Faithful is he that promised. And if we focus on the negatives and get into all the tralala and the confusion, then we get drawn. But if we decide that we're going on the positive side, that's what's going to happen. Ms. Marshall, we're coming to you for closing thoughts. Ms. Alexander, we then come to you and Tyler, and then we close it out on tonight's edition of Beyond the Headlines. Mrs. Marshall?
Yeah, I'd just like to close by thanking Mr. Alexander for what he does with the kids. People like you make me feel proud of this profession. It's a very noble one, and sometimes it could be tiring. It is often thankless, but just the one success story makes it worthwhile. So I want to thank you personally for what you do, and I hope that you and I can connect. This year I'll be teaching computer science, and I love math, so I would love to connect with you. I want to also express my gratitude for being able to appear on this program and to be able to extend this gift to Tyler. Ms. Campbell, thank you for what you do. Thank you for not just focusing only on sensational topics, but on topics that matter and that's relevant to us as members of society. I express my deep admiration for you and the program that you present on a weekly basis.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Marshall. And let me just say that even when I don't plan to make it sensational, some people decide they have to inject the sensational. Tyler, we're getting ready to wrap it up. You're getting ready for school and you want to meet all your new friends and you have something you want to say to some people, your mommy, Miss Marshall, anybody. It's now your opportunity, Tyler.
I just want to say thank you for everything everyone done for me. Thank you for this.
And he says, thank you for this. And this he's referring to is this. Tyler will not forget this for as long as he shall live. Thank you for this. Mr. Alexander, you want to read it again?
Oh, the Lorna Chester Chase Memorial Scholarship Award. Of course, it's $600 US, and it's awarded to Tyler Smith for demonstrating courage, determination, and a spirit of resilience.
The spirit of resilience. Mr. Alexander, the closing words belong to you in 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah, I know the school would not forgive me for this, but just to let all our new students know that we do have orientation on Wednesday. It's going to be online. And I want to thank Jibian and all who support Tyler's story, and that is what makes teaching interesting. And my greatest reward is to see Tyler being rewarded and all the other students who are placed in our care.
Excellent. And I want to thank you, Mr. Alexander, and all members of the panel this evening. Just in case you joined us late, this evening we have out of North Carolina, we've had Julie with us. I'm just trying to get my notes to make sure that I get the names correct. So yes, we have Julie Lutz out of North Carolina. Julie. Rachel Fisher out of Florida. Rachel.
Hi.
Mrs. Judy Marshall. She's an educator. She's born and bred in Grenada, but is making her contribution in the U.S. to the education system. And in studio, we had Mr. Glenn Alexander, educator as well, building sandcastles in the sky and not in the sky, in the sand. And he is doing all the formulas. I'm coming to that next session because I want to know after all these years, what is the result of 2x plus y? I have that time. Tyler Smith, celebrity in the making, our homeboy. It was great to have you. Kristalina John will be very proud of you. Bernadette Connell Celestine sees you as her son. And like I said, Tyler's counselor, she's been in the lobby, she's babysitting. Mr. Alexander, what's the counselor's name?
Rhea Jacob.
Rhea Jacob. Ms. Jacob, you're one of a kind. She provided transportation services, and now she's doing babysitting services in the lobby. Ms. Jacob, you're special, and God bless you. And to Tyler's mom, who we didn't tell a thing, we just told her we wanted her to be here. She thought she was coming to guard her son, but we wanted you to know that we celebrate you for the job you've done, to have a healthy self-esteem. That's all we need in this world. And you know, you could have hid him somewhere and said, well, you're going to school in the Limes. You didn't do that. You made him know he was just like any one of us, and he's been an inspiration. God bless you, ma'am. God bless your family. Our viewing and listening audience, thank you so much for sticking with us. And this might not have been a sexy subject, but you know the value of development. And if you can help somebody as you travel along life's road, then your living would not be in vain. I'm Odette Campbell is over and out. We'll see you again next week. So long for now.
Good night, Julie and Rachel. I don't think they can